What's up, guys? By the time this episode comes out, I would have already given the biggest keynote I've delivered so far in my career. This episode is literally coming out the day after I delivered a keynote for over an hour in front of 300 leaders, executives, and managers. And this is what this episode is about. It's not about the experience of the keynote, but about true confidence. Because I think that that's what a lot of us have struggled with, and still many of us do. And to give a little bit of context, and some of you who have been here for a while and following the podcast, you know, because I've shared in the past that I struggled for almost 20 years with that heavy and debilitating stuttering. So much so that even saying my name out loud in class felt impossible at times. So we're talking about a shy, introverted, socially anxious kid who struggled to communicate with another human to now giving keynotes or delivering keynotes in front of hundreds. So how did that happen? And for a long time, I struggled with confidence because when you grow up stuttering, when you grow up being bullied, being ignored, being dismissed, people feeling frustrated because you cannot get the words out, you don't only lose your confidence, you also lose your voice, and even more dangerously so, you start believing that your voice doesn't matter, that your ideas don't matter, that your story doesn't matter. And when you get to that place, you start playing small. You stay quiet. You're just trying to be invisible and blend in because at the end of the day, you don't matter. So for a long, long time, I struggled with that. And I knew that it was holding me back, but I hadn't figured out how to get out of it. So I became obsessed with confidence, to truly understand confidence, because if I wanted to pursue the life I wanted to live or my dream life, I had to overcome my biggest obstacle, and that was myself, my self doubt, my fears, and my insecurities. And one thing I came to realize, one thing I found out was that the reason why a lot of us struggle with confidence or to develop confidence is because what we have heard, what we have been taught, or what we have read is that confidence can come from one or two places. Either one, fake it until you make it, or two, whenever you feel ready, then go move forward, take action. Sadly, neither of those work. I struggled with both of them. I tried both of them. They never worked. They fake it until we make it, which is the arrowhead of almost every self-help concept around confidence is pointless. And it's not even pointless because when you fake it until you make it, your body knows that you're not being yourself, that you're pretending to be someone who you're not, that you're being fake. There's a dissonance between who you're trying to be and who you truly are at that particular moment in your life. And this might work for a few days, a few weeks, maybe a few months, but eventually your nervous system and your body will bring you down to baseline. And you're going to feel even worse about yourself because even those people who liked you or the things you quote unquote achieved, in your mind, you'll know, oh, I achieved it because I was pretending to be someone who I wasn't. But if I was being my true self, I would have never achieved that, which makes you feel worse about yourself and actually tanks your confidence even more. And when we wait until we are ready, when we are ready, when we wait until we are ready, or when we wait until we feel less fear, or when we feel regulated, then we're going to be waiting forever, and nothing is ever going to happen. And that comes from a belief that confidence is a prerequisite of action, meaning that confidence has to happen before you take action, when it's often a byproduct of it, meaning confidence comes after you take action. So going back to my story, because it's people see me nowadays, people that have only met me in the last 2 years, they thought and they believe that I've always been this way. confident that I can speak in front of large audiences, and I deliver workshops and have the podcast. But what they don't know that this version of me is fairly new. It's like been around for 2.5, maybe 3 years at most. But for over 25 years, if not 30 years, I wasn't this person. I was somebody probably like you, very shy, very introverted, with social anxiety, not knowing how to communicate, or just being afraid of everything, and feeling frustrated because I know I can envision the life I want, and yet it feels so far away because I'm my worst enemy. And maybe you didn't have a speech impediment, but I'm sure that at some point, if you're in that camp, the shyness, the introversion, and the social anxiety, you probably experienced moments in which you wanted to say something, in which you tried to share a story, and somebody louder, somebody with more charisma or extroversion interrupted you, and everyone moved on. And then you realize, well, nobody cares. I tried to say something, and nobody stopped me and said, hey, by the way, finish your story. I'm interested. And that is an extremely painful thing because our brains start creating a story around, well, I don't matter to people, so why bother? So every behavior that you have after that becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. And one thing that I've discovered and I've based my entire work on is that the foundation of everything in life, and I'm talking about confidence, I'm talking about courage, I'm talking about vulnerability, I'm talking about leadership, anything is self trust. But self trust is a tricky concept because it can sound either too abstract, too soft, or maybe not what we think self trust is. Self trust is not believing that everything's going to be all right. Self trust is not knowing that if you say something, everyone will agree with you. Self trust is not believing that if you take your shot, everything's going to be all right. Self trust is knowing that you can take action and you're going to be able to handle whatever happens, whatever outcome comes from it, you're, whether it's positive or negative, you're going to be able to handle it. For instance, let's say, like me, shy, introverted, with socially anxious, with social anxiety. Let's say that I want to approach a group of people and just to create new connections. If I could predict that that outcome would be successful 100% of the time, I don't need confidence. I mean, I feel pretty good about myself. But life doesn't work that way. We we have to deal, sit, and embrace uncertainty. If I approach them, it's almost like a coin flip. It can either go right or go wrong. I can have a positive experience or a negative experience. But even if I go through a negative experience, even if they reject me, self trust is in the fact that I know that I can handle that rejection. And it's not a reflection of who I am. It's just a reflection of timing. It's a reflection of how compatible we are, or maybe we're just not in the same frequency or energy. However you want to call it, it's not necessarily something about you per se. But the fact that you know that you'll be able to handle whatever disappointments can come from it is what gives you self trust. So the question is, well, Daniel, how do we develop self trust? Because if I cannot predict the outcome, or if I'm not sure that the outcome is going to be positive, then fear will kick in and I cannot move, which is a very fair point because I experienced that a lot. Self trust starts with two different ways. The first one is taking micro steps. The same example that people give all the time. Let's say that you struggle with talking to people. Well, start saying hi to the cashiers, to the baggers at a grocery store. Start ordering things in person rather than online. Interact for like 2 minutes. Ask, how their day is going. Ask about the weather, whatever. Even if it's like weird small talk, at least you're getting out of your comfort zone. You're stretching yourself. And that starts just building a new experience in your body. Because This is something I came to realize. I'm somebody who reads a bunch of books, who listens to a bunch of podcasts, and yet I can have all this knowledge, but my life hasn't changed. And the reason is because insights don't create change, experience does. If insights created change, then all of us would be having the best time of our lives, would be living our dream life, because by just reading a few books, by listening to a few podcasts, would be great. But that's not. Our bodies, when we experience ourselves differently, when we reteach our body that it's safe to communicate to others, to take risk, and we show to ourselves that we survive and that we're safe, that experience is what rewires our brains and allows to start building towards the person we want to become or towards the life we're dreaming of having. So that is number one. Start with small steps and make sure to tell yourself, I'm safe. Every single time that you take that step and it didn't go the way that you wanted to, I'm safe. I'm okay. I'm proud of myself for taking the step. Is it going to hurt? For sure. I'm going to talk about being positive all the time. Well, at least I did it. No. Understand the hurt, understand the pain, but also be proud of yourself for taking that step. And the second way that works with the first one to build self trust, and this is probably even more important than the first one, or even as important as the first one, is treat yourself with kindness and compassion. One of the biggest things we have as humans is that we look back and remember the times that we were cringy, the times that we made a mistake, the times that we did something dumb or stupid, and we ruminate over and over and over again. We punish ourselves for the behavior we had. So anytime that we try something new, something that is unfamiliar to us, our brains at an emotional level remember those experiences. And because we have been so harsh on ourselves, our bodies, our brains like, no, we're not going to do it because it's dangerous. Last time we did something like this, not only it went horrible, not only went horrible, but also we had to punish ourselves. It's like if a kid, a 5-year-old kid, breaks a glass, and you start yelling at the kid for breaking that glass, the kid would be terrified of even grabbing anything else. It would affect his confidence because instead of teaching, hey, you know what, it's all right, we can fix it, we can clean it, it's okay, then you start creating this monster inside of the person that every mistake is life or death. Every mistake means that you're the worst person ever. And one thing that helped me truly rewire or really change perspectives in terms of how can I be more kind and compassionate with myself was I've been judging myself, or I've been holding myself accountable. I was holding that version of me accountable for things that I was oblivious to. Because at that point, I was doing the best I could with the information I had. I was never doing anything with intention of hurting myself. I was never doing something with intention of getting a negative result. Even if you yell at your mom or your kid or someone and you said hurtful things, you were being reactive to pain, hurt, and fear. You were not thinking at that point. You were doing the best you could with the information you had and with the emotional state you were in that moment. So cut yourself some slack. Because the moment that you start creating that relationship with yourself and look back and apologize to your younger self, even if that younger self is from last week, is the moment that your body starts just accepting risk. And lastly, is understanding fear. Fear is a highly misunderstood emotion. Fear holds us back way more than anything else. And the way that we have interpret fear is that fear is a stop sign. If I feel fear, I cannot move forward. I cannot. It's just too paralyzing. But what we don't understand is fear is a signal, not a stop sign. Fear is actually a feature, not a bug. Fear is designed to be there for a reason. And yes, from an evolutionary standpoint, it helps us survive and escape danger. But in today's society, where our physical well being is rarely threatened, what our brains catches as social danger, psychological danger, or emotional danger, it treats them as life or death as well. But what fear is showing us is that we are at the edge of our own expansion, of our own growth. Because our brain's number one job is to keep us safe. And safe means being in the familiar. So if we're trying something new to our brains, that is uncertain, that is the unknown. We need to keep you safe. So we're going to show you fear so you don't go there. And once we understand, oh, I'm at the edge of a new me, then I lean more into it. But you cannot lean into it, into the fear, until you trust yourself. Because if you lean into it without trusting yourself, even if you get a negative outcome, your confidence is going to drop even more so. The foundation, once again, of all of this, what we need to start working on is self trust. Because that's all we have. We have ourselves. And the moment that we can come back to who we are, that's the moment that things start turning around. So in my story, this is not something that I became overnight or even in the last couple of years. These were risks I've taken over many years and failed many times. But once I unlocked that self trust part, once I understood where true confidence came from, which came from self trust, my life started changing. And I went from the kid who couldn't communicate or was afraid to talk to others to now delivering keynotes in front of hundreds. And you probably have heard this in the past. Public speaking is the number one fear that people have, even more than heights, snakes, or even death itself. So I want to put that in perspective because I'm a living proof that this works. And the only reason why I'm creating this episode is because once you get to this point and you look back all the challenges, all the struggles, and you see where you are now, it is incredibly rewarding and you feel a lot of gratitude. And I want that for you to experience as well. At the end of the day, there's only a couple of things that we need to do. The process is simple but not easy. It requires to push. It requires to really align and to be uncomfortable every every once in a while. So if I can leave you with something, I'll leave you with this. The moment that you decide that you're done with living the life that you have right now, it's the moment that life is going to start putting things in place for you to start growing. Life will put challenges, would put people that would trigger you, that would make you want to run away. And those are the moments that you have to lean into it and take one step at a time. It's not going to be easy, but one thing I've learned is that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in a day and underestimate what we can accomplish in a year. What I mean by that is we take one step every single day and we feel that we are not progressing. But 6 months into it or a year into it, we look back and say, holy crap, look how far I've come. And that was that moment for me when I delivered the keynote, remembering how that kid wasn't even able to say his own name in class. So I hope this is helpful. And if this message can change at least one person, that would be more than enough for me. So thank you for watching or listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.